Hey guys, and welcome to my first ever book haul. Hey guys, if you're new, welcome. This is The Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if you're returning, thanks for sticking with me. So, earlier this week, actually, today's Wednesday, so yesterday was my birthday. I did turn 39, which also prompts the start of the 40 books to read before I turn 40, which is a separate video. I will link the video in the description below if you want to give it a gander to see what 40 books I feel I must read before I turn 40 next year. But with that being said, I was gifted some funds to go a little book crazy, and I did two different purchases, one of which was at a book discount store, and I made that order online, so it is on its way, and once it arrives I'll do a separate second book haul for that order. But in the meantime, I was gifted a gift card by my mother-in-law for Barnes & Noble, and normally I don't really go to Barnes & Noble because they're kind of out of my price range as much as I love it. But I got to go there and have a little shopping spree. So I did that, and I wanted to share with you what I got. I'm going to give you guys a warning because most of these either fall under romance or like maybe spooky and with a touch of romance. So they're basically mostly romance, but a lot of these you've kind of maybe seen mentioned before. They're kind of making the rounds. And I wanted to just see my views on them. So the first ones that I got are Neon Gods and Electric Idol by Katie Robert. Now, I got these really for this one, Electric Idol. I think this is the second book in the series, and this is kind of the retelling of Psyche, of Cupid and Psyche. And I love that. That's one of my favorite Greek myths outside of Orpheus and Eurydice. I never know how to pronounce Eurydice because I've heard it pronounced Eurydice, but I like Eurydice. I think it sounds prettier, so I'm going to go with that one. And if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments below. But this was the one that I really wanted to read just because, like I said, it was the Cupid and Psyche retelling, which is Cupid, the god of love, falling in love with, I think she's a mortal girl. It's been a while since I've read it. But I wanted to read that one. However, because it's the second book and I don't like reading things out of order, I picked up Neon Gods as well. Neon Gods is a Persephone and Hades retelling, and I want to read this. I just want to kind of pause it because I just finished reading the Scarlet St. Clair Hades and Persephone retelling series, and I loved it. Absolutely adored it. So I kind of want to give my mind space to clear it out before I tackle another retelling of it. And both of these, it seems like they're supposed to be contemporary, and it's a modern, like they're saying modern day city of Olympus, but it's basically the characters of Greek myths existing in this modern day city and the romance stories that go along with it. So I will read these, and if I like these, I'll pick up more in the series because I think there's maybe two more. I'm not sure. Maybe it's ongoing. But stay tuned to see how I feel about these. So anyway, the next book that I got was All of Us Villains. And this one is by Amanda Food and Christine Lynn Herman. And this one, I've seen it a few times on BookTube, different videos, different people got it. They have a little bit nicer version. This is the paperback version. I think they have like this really nice, either maybe Fairy Loot edition or Illumicrate, one of those box editions that has, you know, those fancy edges and ones that I can't afford right now. But it's okay, eventually. Goals. So this one is basically every generation at the coming of the blood moon, 7 families in the remote city of Ilvernath each name a champion to compete in a secret tournament to the death. The prize, exclusive control over the hidden wellspring of high magic, the most powerful resource in the world, one thought long depleted. But this year, a scandalous tell-all book has exposed the tournament and thrust 7 new champions into the worldwide spotlight. The book also granted them valuable information previous champions never had. insight into the other family's strategies and weaknesses. And most important to them, it gives them a choice to accept their fate or rewrite their legacy. Either way, this is a story that must be penned in blood. So right away, they're saying that there is going to be another book in this. So this is a series book, and it's the next one, I guess, is going to be called All of Our Demise. So that is a little bit curious because it's saying all of our demise. Does that mean like none of them are going to get the wellspring and they're all going to, you know, meet their end? So I'm intrigued. I've also heard that like one of the things is that you're going to root, usually in these like kind of competitive stories, you end up finding a character, usually the main character is the one you're rooting for. But the fact that it says all of us as villains makes me think that all of them, like you're kind of picking the lesser of two evils, or, you know, if you will, that they're all going to have some maybe pretty nasty vices, or maybe they're going to be kind of those gray area type of characters. But either way, I'm intrigued, and this I think will be good for October. And I think that, you know, Spoopy Hall is going to do another kind of spoopathon thing, so this might be read for that. The next book is another one that's making its way around. This is the paperback version, so the cover's going to look a little different, and that is Her Majesty's Royal Coven. This is about the time of, I think it's Victorian time when this is, but it basically talks about how Queen Elizabeth I establishes a royal coven of witches that kind of protect the realm and help her to do her bidding. And they're saying that like this is just kind of the problems that are going on now within the Order of Witches, as well as, I guess it says there's a young warlock of extraordinary capabilities that's been captured by authorities and seems to threaten the very existence of the organizations. So it's going to be very witchy vibes. I'm looking forward to, you know, obviously reading this maybe in October, maybe it'll fill a prompt. But I was very intrigued. This was on one of my watch lists for the books that were coming out. And I knew I was going to get this eventually. So I was just happy I was able to get it sooner than later. The next book is another one that's been talking about. Like I said, all of these have kind of been talked about. So the next book on the list that I got is The Inheritance of Karita Davina. And this one has been kind of talked about as being an adult version of Encanto. And I love Encanto. It's honestly one of my favorite Disney films right now. My kids, both my boys, actually love Encanto as well. So we all sit there and we watch it. And this is basically about the family called the Montoyas, and their matriarch, Karita Davina, invites them to her funeral. They're hoping to learn all the secrets of her life. Instead, Karita is leaving them with more questions than answers. And 7 years later, gifts have manifested in different ways for her descendants. And they're starting to figure out, there might be something that's going to tear their family apart. So one of them has to undergo a quest to kind of save her family. So yes, very much sounding like an Encanto. So I'm going to be very interested in reading this. This is really, actually, for a paperback, this is a beautiful cover because you have this kind of gold hummingbird right there, and I love hummingbirds. So I'm really looking forward to this, and yeah. The next one is kind of an unofficial recommendation from Larissa over at Larry Reads. She has raved about this book. She put it on, I think when she was tiering her books in one of her more recent videos, she put this on what she calls the God tier of, this is like according to her, this is like one of the romance books you have to read before you die. Like this is just the most amazing, like she loves it. And that is Archer's Voice. She did give warnings that tissue boxes might be needed. And this is basically just a love story about two people over the course of many years, from when they were younger to now as they're older. And one of them, the way she kind of says it is that the guy, it's a males to females romance, and the guy is kind of like your quintessential good guy. He's not like a bad guy that turns good, or he's not a bad boy with a heart of gold, or he's not like grumpy, like he's just just the good guy. And she says that he's like what you dream about having as like the perfect guy. So I'm gonna be interested. She just said that this is going to be like, it is a tearjerker, but she says it's one of the best romances that she's ever read. And I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm in. I'll try it. I will let you know how many boxes of tissues I need to read this. But yeah. The next book I got is actually the Literature Book Club pick for October. September is going to be The Deal, but I think it's Elle Kennedy. And then for October, we have our Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. I know this one also kind of made the rounds, starting like in comedic fashion, and then it started to get taken really seriously, because as much as this is a alien romance story that honestly I never thought I'd be picking up, people have been saying that the storyline in it is actually really good. The relationships in it are really well written. And with so many people recommending it at 4 and 5 stars, I was like, okay. Plus it's the pick for October. So, you know, it fills multiple expectations. But I will be curious to see what it is, because like I said, I've seen so many good reviews on it, and it's not my typical type of romance read. But, you know, what are we if not the guinea pigs for you guys to venture out and read stuff that we might not read, you know? The next book is the only middle grade book that I bought, and that it's been on my list for a while, so getting the opportunity to get it was really good. Plus I ended up getting it for like 50% off, and that is A Kind of Spark. And I just like, it's just a beautiful, beautiful cover. And this reached out to me because this is about a girl who I believe she has autism. And yes, so this is about a young girl who has autism. This one really grabbed at me because this little girl is learning about witches, and she's learning about like the witch trials, and she doesn't like it. She doesn't understand how just because the witches thought differently or did things differently that they were persecuted against, and she feels kind of kindred to them because of her own experiences being on the spectrum. So she goes to try to research them and you know, kind of boost support for the witches. So I just found that very endearing, very sweet, and just a wonderful way of looking at history with a different, unique perspective. So I'm very eager to read this. It's not a long book at all. I'm expecting to love this. I really am. So I hope it doesn't let me down, because it just sounds like it's just a beautiful, heartwarming story. So that will be that. The next book that I got was one that's been on my list for a while as well, and that is Only a Monster. And this is written by Vanessa Len, and it basically sounded almost like a kind of reversed Beauty and the Beast, where the girl's the monster and the guy's the one that has to maybe, you know, play the part of Belle. But then you end up finding out that so she's from a family of monsters, and she meets Nick, and Nick seems to be this great guy, only until she finds out that Nick is a monster slayer sent to kind of destroy her family. So it even says in here, and she goes, she'll have to embrace her monstrousness if she's ever to save herself and her family, because in this story, she is not the hero. So I thought that's just a very interesting and unique spin on things. And especially I love the complexity of like, if he's sent to kill them, are they gonna fall in love? Like, what's that dynamic gonna play, if any? So I'm really interested in reading this one, and I do love the color scheme on that. It's just it's beautiful. The next book that I got, I have read the Jennifer L. Armentrout, the I think what was the other series that she wrote, The Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So I read From Blood and Ash, and I loved that book. It was 5 stars. 5 stars. one of my most favorite books to read of this year. And it wasn't really even anything to do with like the kind of spicy romance aspects. Those happened for me later in the book. And realistically, even if they didn't happen, I still would have loved the story. It was just so well written and such a unique spin on vampires. And then she threw in like Atlantis and Atlantean culture in a way that I just like, if you try to tell somebody, it sounds ridiculous, but it makes like such a wonderful addition to the story. So I do want to continue reading that series, and I thought about picking up that series at Barnes & Noble, but to do so, I would have used up my entire gift card, and then I wouldn't be able to show you like book after book after book. So I ended up picking up the first book in her Flesh and Fire series, and that's A Shadow in Ember. And it's very confusing because the covers are almost exactly like the Blood and Ash series. But I'm going to continue reading the Blood and Ash series on my Kindle because that's how I started, and then eventually I will try to get those books because I really do want to get those books and own that whole collection. But I figured in the time being, I'll get this one, try it out. And this is a whole new story. So basically, I'll just read it out. Born shrouded in a veil of the primals, a maiden as the fates promised, Seraphina Mariel's future has never been hers. Chosen from before birth to uphold the desperate deal her ancestor struck to save his people, Sarah must leave behind her life and offer herself to the primal of death as his consort. However, Sarah's real destiny is the most closely guarded secret in all of Lysania. She's not the well-protected maiden, but an assassin with one mission, one target: make the primal death fall in love, become his weakness, and then end him. If she fails, she dooms her kingdom to a slow demise at the hands of the rot. Sarah has always known what she is: chosen, consort, assassin, weapon. A specter never fully formed yet drenched in blood, a monster, until the primal of death's unexpected words and deeds chase away the darkness gathering inside her, and his seductive touch ignites a passion she never allowed herself to feel and cannot feel for him. But Sarah has never had a choice. Either way, her life is forfeit, and it's always been, and she will forever be touched by life and death. And I just noticed as I'm reading it, there's a little typo. There's no space between and cannot. That just kind of threw me for a second. So this actually sounds a lot like the Blood and Ash, where you have this girl who's going to be promised to a fate where, you know, it's bigger than her. She feels like she doesn't have a choice. That seems to be very similar to the other series. But it also kind of feels like a Persephone's Hades retelling, possibly because it is the primal of death, the god of death. And it also feels a little bit like Scarlet St. Clair's King of Battle and Blood, where she's going to marry him, but her goal is to kind of kill him, because that's kind of what was going on in the Battle and Blood. So I will be really interested. Like I said, I loved the Blood and Ash. I really loved that book, so I have high hopes for this one being a 5-star, bold prediction, 5-star book, hoping. The last book that I got from Barnes & Noble was also on my list for a while, and that is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I am excited to read this one because the way that it was kind of pitched to me is that it's a romance story, but on a treasure hunt. And I love Indiana Jones and Goonies and pirate, like anything that has to deal with like an adventure, pirate, treasure or treasure hunt. That's like clues you got to figure out. I'm in. Doesn't matter. I'm in. I will watch it. I will watch those really, really bad, like they don't even go to theaters. They come straight to like for home, and I will watch them. And honestly, some of them are pretty cute and good. And so, but yes, I am a treasure hunt, solve it treasure hunt puzzle junkie on that one. I love those. So when I found out that that's what this was kind of like, I was all in. So I'll just read it, and it says, growing up the daughter of notorious treasure hunter and absentee father, Duke Wilder left Lily without much patience for the profession or much money in the bank. But Lily is nothing if not resourceful, and now she uses Duke's coveted hand-drawn maps to guide tourists on treasure hunts through the gorgeous Red Rock canyons of Utah. It pays the bills, but doesn't leave enough to fulfill her dream of buying back the beloved ranch her father sold years ago, and definitely not enough to deal with the sight of a man she once loved walking back into her life with a motley crew of friends ready to hit the trails. Frankly, Lily would like to take him out into the wilderness and leave him there. Leo Grady knew mirages were a thing of the desert, but they'd barely left civilization when the silhouette of his greatest regret comes into focus in the flickering light of the campfire. Ready to leave his past behind him, Leo suddenly realizes he wants nothing more than to reconnect with his first and only love. Unfortunately, Lily Wilder is all business, drawing a clear line in the sand, and it's never going to happen. But when the trip goes both horribly and hilariously wrong, the group wonders if maybe the legend of hidden treasure wasn't a gimmick after all. There's a chance to right the wrongs of Duke's past and their own, but only if Leo and Lily can confront their history and work together. Alone under the stars in an isolated and dangerous maze of the canyon lands, Leo and Lily must decide whether they'll risk their lives and hearts on the adventure of a lifetime. So it sounds great. It sounds wonderful. I am all in it. I'm wondering if it's going to be like told from the different like sides. Like I can't get to, it just says chapters. There's no whatever. So, but I'm wondering if it's going to get multiple viewpoints or whatever. So that's the last one that I had, and I'm so excited to read this one. This one has been on my list for a while. And yeah, that is my first ever book haul here on YouTube. Like I said, this one was my Barnes & Noble book haul. Stay tuned for my discount book haul that I will do probably towards the end of the month, because the books are being shipped, but it's going to take a while to get here. So just stay tuned for that. If you have read these or any of these, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If there's some other ones by these authors that you think I would enjoy as well, let me know. As you know, I'm always looking for another good book to add to my TBR. And thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please click the like button, subscribe, do all those fun things. It really helps out the channel. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.